Hi, I'm Lee, and welcome to a bonus episode of Let's Fix Traffic. We're back in Las Vegas, sent in by city builder FezVrasta. In part 2 of our series, the industrial neighborhood of Las Vegas had so many traffic design problems, I decided to bulldoze it all and start from scratch. Now, in this bonus episode, I'll show you how I built this huge new industrial neighborhood. Hopefully, you'll find my tips here useful in designing your own. Now, first off, all the highways have been reworked, with a highway that now runs from downtown out here to our original neighborhood with a stack interchange and a new port. Also, we've got the old port here and a partial interchange, as well as two full interchanges right here that cross to both sides of the highway. We've also just set ourselves up with two rail terminals, and we've left our power plants and Chirpex exactly where they were. The other thing we did is we extended these main roads all the way in so we can connect to that part of the city. And we've got three different connections now so that cims have not just this highway or this highway to get into the city, but they also have these three roads as well. We also have another connection right here that gets into this industrial zone from the highway. Then the last thing I want to point out is that this road here has a bridge. It's only 2 lanes right now, but hopefully this will be enough, and it just bridges right across without an interchange. We've also implemented what is known as a basket weave interchange. In fact, we've got a few weaves here because these interchanges are really close together, all three of them. We've got the stack with the highway, and we've got the two 6-lane roads right here. And they're all way too close together for lane changes on these 2-lane sections of road right here. So we've done what they call a basket weave, which basically uses flyover ramps to make sure that traffic is able to get where it wants to go without having a whole lot of conflict with traffic that it's merging into. So we don't have to worry about getting anybody exiting through here. This is the last exit ramp until we get all the way. Actually, there is no more exit ramp. So that's the last exit ramp. We have one set here and one here that serves these two main roads. And then in this direction, we've got this. We've got 2 exit ramps, and then a third one right here to get to the stack interchange. And then finally, we have, and actually, you know what? Honestly, it probably wouldn't be the worst idea if we had some of this merging going on down back here, but yeah, we'll see how this works out and fix it if we need to. Then the entrance ramps on this side all combine into one entrance ramp right here on our main highway, and it splits here for the stack so that it can get both directions on this other highway, this cross highway. So it's a very smooth set of transitions. We don't have to worry about any crossover traffic, really. The other thing I want to point out is we put in some walking paths that make it so that if cims do walk through here, they can get all the way to each of these roads. Now, one of the other things I also want to point out is we've used bridges quite a lot here to make sure that these main roads that have all this traffic going on and off the highway right here, that we don't have anything to worry about with traffic getting hung up on smaller intersections. So this one's separated and this one's just cul-de-sac right here, so that we don't have anything but these two intersections. So as this gets very much more developed, it's going to get a lot busier. And once it gets busier, then having these intersections spaced nicely is going to really help. We also set up our lane arrows. So we have dedicated left turn lanes. We don't have dedicated rights in a lot of places. Well, it looks like I got most of them. I might have to go back and grab a few of these. That will help keep traffic moving a lot more smoothly. Now I'm going to speed up the clock here, and I went ahead and I set up 3 specialty areas. I'm not going to make them as big as what we had in the original layout, but we've got Lafayette Farms here. That's going to be our farm area. It looks like I forgot to... There we go. Now it's got the tractor. And then we've got Mineral Hills right here, in Forest Park over here. The Mineral Hills is ore, and Forest Park is forestry products. And then everything else will be just generic industry. So that will allow, what I've done so far is I've only zoned mostly generic, just a little bit of farms. And I'm just trying to spread the electricity out so I can get rid of some of these power lines at the moment. Another thing I think I forgot to do is I forgot to put my police and fire back. Fire is the most important one probably, but we really need both. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in this area because I think that they will spread things the farthest. And I like to put them on the main roads because the main roads can handle a lot more traffic, and since there are emergency calls usually going in and out of here, we want to make sure that those get there on time. So if they're able to get out and onto the streets a lot faster, then I have less worry about traffic holding them up. So if we put them on the main roads where they have multiple lanes, they should be able to sneak through the lights if they're red. And hopefully this will grow towards the other side. Now, why did I start out with generic industry? Well, generic industry is what we need. That's going to make us the most money, and it's going to help us make more money off of these specialized industries once they grow in. We don't have a lot of those yet, I don't think. No, we don't. So we're going to let that all fill in, and we're just going to keep expanding it until our employment level gets about where we want it, which is somewhere under 10%. Right now it's at 26%. That's pretty crazy high, but we do have a lot of jobs coming in pretty quickly here with these industrial zones building more and more all the time. Now, something you might be noticing as you look at this is we've got our generic industry. It's building in now nicely, and we see a lot of traffic on these 3 side streets that head into our city, back into downtown Las Vegas, and they have a lot of traffic on it. So having these streets here is really helping keep our city moving because not all the traffic is on these 2 highways and on these 2 interchanges over here getting to the highways, or, well, actually this intersection here and this partial interchange right here. We have enough road access into downtown that it's making everything move pretty smoothly. Now, of course, we're getting a lot more of those not enough goods to sell, and that's because we don't have enough industry to make all the goods we need to sell. I'm going to go ahead and zone some more industry so we can keep filling this in. Let's take a look at our unemployment. We're at 22%, so that's dropping nicely. We have a huge senior population. That's going to hurt us when it comes to families, but our young adult population is looking decent at the moment, so hopefully that will balance itself out. In the meantime, though, we can see if we look at traffic view, we have some busy streets and we have some abandoned commercial buildings, but our streets are performing pretty well. We're not having any serious traffic issues, at least not in our industrial area. It's not quite filled out It doesn't look like there's anything really super serious going on over in downtown either, thanks to some of the things we fixed in part 1. Although I do expect the delivery trucks are going to clog things up, as we're seeing. It's going to get worse probably over there, and we're going to have to deal with that in part 3. Right now, I'm just trying to get this to all fill in. Let's look at our imports and our exports. Right now, we're importing about 7,000 goods and a little bit of everything else. And right now, we're exporting no goods, just a teensy bit of ore, forestry, and agricultural. Some of that is probably held over from before we demolished everything. Some of it's probably from some of this that's just sprung up. So it takes a little while for that to update, I've noticed. But we are starting to catch up a bit on our economy, our industrial base. Let's look at our unemployment. We're almost at 20%. We haven't lost a huge amount of population with all this unemployment, and it does seem like things are filling in nicely. So I'm going to start working on getting things going on the other side of the highway here so we can have some forestry products made here in our city. So we're having some conflicts here at this traffic light at this intersection. Got a lot of left turning trucks. We don't have a ton of coming from the other direction, so a lot of times that's able to clear. But as this over here starts to fill in, I think we're going to see more problems. So I'm going to set up a timed traffic light right here. Right here with Traffic Manager President Edition. And we're going to set this all up by hand. Alright, so we want our minimum time to be about 3 seconds each for these cycles. And our maximum time, I'm just going to set it up to be 12. I know that's really hard to see. I don't know why this is acting up. Hopefully it will clear. And I'm going to use a flow sensitivity of 0.2, which is very long green-red cycles. And I'm going to do more waiting than driving. And I want each of my signals to separate all 3 directions, because I anticipate that I will be adding more lanes to these streets. So our first cycle, actually, yeah, let's do 12, and we'll have the left turns go first. And we'll let right turns go on our cross street, and then we will end left turns. Oh, there we go, and that's a lot easier to look at. All right, so we'll end left turns here and go with straight throughs, which means we can't have anybody coming off of the cross street. And then we will end straight throughs, begin left turns on our street that goes to the highway. Then we'll end left turns, allow straight throughs and rights, and end rights on the cross street. So we have dedicated left turn signals and rights that aren't conflicting. Then we have straight throughs again on the cross street, left turns, protected left turns, and then we won't have any left turns going whenever anybody is going through this intersection straight through. So let's go ahead and start it and see how it goes. So that's really working a lot more organized. Now, another thing we could do, because our left turn, we have a lot of trucks trying to turn left to get on the highway here. So what could we do to make that run a little faster? We also have a lot of trucks trying to turn right here and go straight through. So there's a couple of things that we can do. One, we're going to use a road from the Network Extensions 2 mod, and that's the 6-lane asymmetrical road. 2 lanes in one direction and 4 in the other. And actually, you know what? I'm going to actually go with the 8-lane road. We're going to go wider here because I don't want to have not enough lanes over here at that intersection. So I'm going to go with the 8-lane road, just straight up 8 lanes. And I'm going to set this up in both directions. And I'm going to set it up here as well. Okay, so now I just need to set up my lane arrows. So for this street here, I really would like to have a dedicated right turn lane and a dedicated left turn lane. So we're going to set it up like that. This will allow trucks to take advantage of that right turn, extra right turn time. Here, I do not want to have, I need 2 left turn lanes, and that's going to allow this protected left turn to go in there and not have, and be able to get more trucks through on a single green light. In this direction, I'm going to just go with dedicated left and right turn lanes in 2 straight. And over here, I'm going to leave things as is. And then up here, I have a dedicated right turn lane. That's perfect. I'm going to set that to be a dedicated left up here at that traffic light. And I'm going to do the same right here, since I missed that earlier. So that should make... Oh, I forgot about these intersections over here. Again, we'll do dedicated lefts and rights. And that should make that run a lot more smoothly. Gives a little bit more room, and as you can see, we've got trucks using both set of turn lanes. That's going to be good because some of these trucks are just going to want to go over here, and they might be headed to the cargo terminal, or they could be heading, you know, back to the forestry area, or they could be getting on in either direction of the highway. They could be going this way instead of that way. So the 2 left turn lanes are definitely going to help move things along. And we don't see a backup of right turns here either because we've got all this extra left turn time. So it's a good deal all the way around. Let's see if we can expand more of our industry. It looks like we've got a pretty good beginning over here. I'm not sure why that's not filling in. I would think it would. I'm going to add... Now, one of the things you might have noticed is that I'm not allowing any... I'm not zoning against these main roads. Some of these side roads, yes, but these main roads, no. And there's a reason for that, being that I don't want trucks to stop and do deliveries like these trucks are just doing right here and blocking up these roads that trucks need to be able to flow freely on. So it's a good idea just not to completely zone right up against things. All right, so it looks like that's actually filling in too. So don't zone right up against everything. We can leave a little extra room, although I'm one of those who likes to use every little bit of real estate. So we're going to have a wide, you know, empty space along this area, along this main road. And we'll probably end up doing the same thing over here. I left some more space because I wanted the trucks to have plenty of room to queue as they turn left or right here at these intersections. And I set stop signs up so that some of these roads are prioritized over others. Now, one of the things that I think I'm going to need to change right here is I've got a lot of trucks trying to turn left at this intersection. I'd rather see them turn right, even though it might create more traffic. So I'm going to use my lane arrows and make this right turn only so I can get that moving more again. Now let's take a look at unemployment. See where we are. Okay, great. We're down to 14%. That's a much better level. Still a huge senior population. I'm not sure what we'll be able to do about that to get our population going, more families going in here. We're still importing a lot of goods, but we're not importing as much as we were. We are importing raw ore products and some raw agricultural products. But we're not exporting a lot of that. Well, we are exporting a lot of ore. So hopefully we can get this generic industry to pick up some of that slack and take advantage of those ore products. But I definitely don't want to have too much of that because I really want to be able to consume that here with my generic industry and manufacturing things. I'm going to go ahead and expand this area. I forgot to add the walking paths over here. Something else that we want to take a look at is our garbage capacity. I think we've got most of our garbage processing over here in these landfills. I'm going to actually work on emptying those, since landfills are far less desirable than incinerators. Now, where are our incinerators? We've got one here, a few here, here, and another landfill over here that will empty. So it looks like most of our garbage processing capacity is over here in our main city. I'm going to move a couple of these out here, so we have a little better coverage with our garbage. So that should help spread out our garbage trucks a little bit. Let me get some water here. So this is filling in nicely. Let's see what our unemployment looks like. Unemployment is now down to a reasonable level, 7%. So hopefully this will mean that we'll get more influx. This will bring in more people. Our death rate has gone way up. So hopefully the senior population will get replaced by some younger people who will boost the population up into higher numbers. Now, our imports, we're still importing a lot of goods, but not like we were. Still quite a lot. So we have a little ways to go to balance our economy out, but we are mostly, outside of the raw ore, it looks like we're probably importing just mostly oil products, and our exports are pretty much all ore, a little bit of agriculture. So we really need to catch up on some of our demand for, just generic manufacturing. I'm going to go ahead and zone up more of this area. So we have pretty good traffic flow going on in our worst places. It seems like our busiest intersections seem to be fairly organized. Now, one thing I am going to do is I'm going to copy this timed traffic light that's at this intersection. I'm going to copy it over here. And that way that will be a little more organized than it was before. And I think I'm going to do the same thing here. So that will move a little better. I need to modify this traffic light here, though, because I don't have any extra lanes. It looks like I could probably use some, though. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and use the 4-lane asymmetrical road that comes with network extensions 2. The 1 lane in one direction and 3 lanes in the other direction. And I'm going to upgrade this road so that we have 3 lanes that can be used to separate our traffic. And I'm going to make it so that we only have dedicated lanes. That should help move things a little better. Now I need to make sure that I didn't accidentally set up... Okay, we do. I have a couple of traffic lights here we don't need. so that should move a little more smoothly. And seems like that's doing the trick. It looks like we might be able to benefit from a traffic signal here too. Although that just cleared, so maybe not. Maybe that's not as big of a deal. We probably could use a little bit more width in the lane, so I'm going to change over to... I'm going to use... where is it? I'm going to go ahead and use this 5-lane asymmetrical road, 2 lanes in one direction and 3 in the other. And that will allow me to set aside a dedicated left turn lane at this intersection. I'm going to get rid of the crosswalk here because I really don't want cims holding up trucks as they're going their way onto the port. That already seems to be a little better than it was before. So our traffic flow is still really good here. We don't have either of our ports on either side of our highway. Neither one of those are getting overwhelmed with too many trucks. None of our intersections so far are overwhelmed with trucks. And we've still got plenty of room where we can add more lanes if we need them. But right now, I'm just going to go ahead with this as is and allow it to fill in. Let's check out our economy and see how balanced our imports and exports are. Still importing about 2,000 goods probably. That has dropped quite a lot. And we're exporting quite a bit of ore. Probably don't need as much ore as we're making, but we still have a lot more generic industry that's filling in over here, so that'll probably be taken care of. And hopefully it'll soak up some of this agricultural and forestry production that we have here too. All right, unemployment is down to 4%, so hopefully our population will be able to fill in, seeing as we have a shrinking senior demographic. And not really sure. Let's take a look at city statistics and see what's going on with our demographics. See if, oops, that's not what I want. Let's check out city statistics and see. All right, so population changes. This is about when we started part 1. It seems to have dropped off a bit since we reorganized and rebuilt, basically demolished half of the, a good chunk of the jobs, about a quarter of the jobs in the city. Now let's see what kind of influx we have. We don't have a huge influx, but it is trending upward. That's exactly what we want to see. Birth rates are trending upward slightly, and our death rate is trending upward. So those 3 things together can lead to some population growth that will hopefully bring us more families and bring us a lot more people, and hopefully get us up closer to a higher population, maybe at least 60,000, or at least close to 60,000, I'm hoping. But it will take a little while for that to all make its way through. So our neighborhood across the highway has filled in very much. So let's take a look at our unemployment. We're down to 2%. Our population has shrunk a little bit more, but our senior population has dropped dramatically, and we're getting a lot more births, which bodes well for population growth. Hopefully this will be a good trend that will show up nicely in our city statistics here. Our birth rate has gone up. It looks like our death rate is starting to come back down. Our influx has gone up, but it's still not as high as I would really hope to see. But it looks like our influx and birth rates are still working their way up. It looks like they're still trending up. So hopefully that will soon reverse our population trend, which has been mostly down, even though we've done a lot to improve employment. As you can see, we had a pretty big drop right here, but it's recovered up to where it was before. So let's take a look at our imports and exports. Our imports, we're almost not even importing any goods anymore. A little bit of oil, tiny little bit of raw forestry products probably. I don't even know if it's that. It looks like it's finished forestry products because I see green in our generic areas. So we're almost completely supplying our own forestry products. I don't see that we're importing any agriculture, maybe just that little bit right there. And we're exporting a little bit of agriculture, forestry, teensy bit of goods, which is exactly what we want to see right there, and a lot of ore. So we really don't need as much ore as we've got. So I'm going to change this up. I'm going to change some of this so that it is no longer this generic instead of producing ore, just in the hopes of balancing the economy out a little bit. So that'll all dezone and we'll have some more generic area here. The other thing I want to do is I want to continue to expand my generic industry. Now I've got all of this designated as forestry. I'm going to take away part of that, about half right now, and I'm going to zone some of it that hasn't already been zoned, so we can get more generic industry over here too. I'm going to avoid zoning along that road for the time being. And I really meant to not zone here, but I'm going to leave that alone. It seems like it's functioning okay. So we'll have a little more forestry up there, I suppose. I need to expand my electrical connectivity out this direction, though. So we'll let that fill in. This is already starting to rebuild, which is wonderful to see. It looks like our traffic light here is... What is a traffic light there, I think, isn't it? No, it is not. We're going to put a traffic light there. And hopefully that will get that moving a little bit more smoothly. Now we have a problem here where we have a bunch of trucks trying to turn left, and they're getting bogged down in traffic. So I'm going to use my lane arrow tool and make it so that this is right turn only, so that they'll use this intersection over here instead. And I'm just going to let that go and see if a stop sign will be good enough there, or if we need to maybe add a traffic light there too. Now this over here is getting bogged down with left turn conflicts, so we're going to add a timed traffic light here at our highway interchange. We'll just use 3 and 12 again, like we did on the other, and since these are trucks, we're going to go with 0.2 for very long green-red phases, and we're going to make sure we have all the directions available. So I want my left turns to go first, and since nobody can turn left here, I'm going to let straight throughs go as well. then our next step will be to stop left turns and allow the opposite direction to go. And finally, we'll stop the straight throughs and allow this to go. We're going to allow right turns to go onto the highway from here because I'm going to ban straight through motions on that movements on that intersection. So let's go ahead and add that and we'll start it. Put my lane arrows, change that so that we don't have straight throughs, and I'm going to dedicate that to right turns right there. So now we'll have a little more smooth movement going on there. I'm going to take that timed traffic light and copy it over here. I have to rotate this one. There we go. So then that one will have the same cycle as this one, and we could probably use the same thing over here, so might as well. That looks like that should do the trick. Now this over here is backing up a little bit. I think I'm going to go ahead and widen this up a little bit. We have a lot of trucks turning both directions, it looks like. Why don't we go ahead and do two? Well, it looks like I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that. Okay, here we go. Oh, it looks like I might need to separate my grade a little bit here. I'll just use anarchy. That should be all right. I'm going to just live with that. And we're going to have 2 left turn lanes and a right turn lane there. And we'll turn anarchy off. So now when those left turns get to go, they'll be able to use both lanes and fill up that bridge. It won't back up over here onto this ramp and cause any cascading problems over here with these ramps. It'll keep things moving much smoother. Now this here is backing up. Not really sure what everybody's trying to do here, but it looks like we might benefit from having more lanes going here so we can have 2 left turn lanes getting on the highway. Also, I'm going to go ahead and make that left turns. Those left turn only. Don't think a lot of these are going to want to go straight. That should make that work a little bit better. Well, that seems to be working really well for now. Maybe just having those traffic lights a little more efficient will do the trick. But if we need, we can always widen that up to an 8-lane road and then make a 2-lane road right there. That'll help get more left turns through at once. So we'll just keep our eye on that. Everything else seems to be moving really well. Now let's take a look at downtown and see if we see any complaints. I don't see very many at all. I mean, we've got a few areas. Well, it looks like we had an area where there was a dead body to be picked up, but that has cleared. That cemetery is full, but I don't see any complaints about not having enough goods to sell. So we have successfully solved that. And let's take a look at our economic output. We're barely importing any goods now. I don't even know where we're importing the goods. And we are exporting a lot of goods. Not a ton of ore, but about as much actually as our goods. So we could actually do without even a little bit more ore, or we could just build more generic industry to maybe use some of that. Looks like we're mainly just importing oil at this point and some raw ore. That's exactly what we want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and expand over here and allow that to become more industrial. So that'll become more generic industry over here. We can always use it to make more forestry if we have to, but I think we're actually going to be in really great shape if we just leave things the way they are. So a takeaway that I think is worth noting is that we don't need that much specialized industry to feed our generic industry. We've got 3 specialized industries, and we're supplying all of this generic really super duper well. And the other thing that we can have a takeaway on is that we've got some nice connections going across the highway. We have specialized industries on both sides of the highway, but mostly we have generic manufacturing on both sides as well. So the generic manufacturers that will take advantage of some of these locally produced specialized goods will be able to be used in manufacturing finished products, generic industrial products with that are just down the street. They don't have to go across the highway. We want to do the same thing with industry here and not over homogenize things. We don't want a huge monoculture. Now we do have a little bit of a problem going on here. I'm not sure what this is about. It looks like we have a lot of left turns trying to get into this neighborhood, and it's backing up. So we really need a timed traffic light right here to make that work more smoothly. Let me go ahead and copy one. All right, so that'll work. Once I expand that to a 4-lane 1+3 asymmetrical road. Hopefully that will get things moving a little bit more smoothly through there. And then this over here is a little bit bottlenecked. So that seems to be working a little better than it was before. This over here seems to be working really well. We don't have very long lines like we used to. Some of this, we could probably do what we did over here. We could probably stand to add a second turn lane. Why don't we go ahead and do that right here? And that should do the trick to get that going a little more smoothly. So let's take a look at our traffic view here briefly. We're hovering in the mid to high 70s, which is very good. There are a few red spots, but we don't have any backups or serious bottlenecks to worry about. So I'd say that's a win. We've effectively used timed traffic lights and turn lanes here instead of relying on roundabouts. That's something I wanted to talk about for a minute. Roundabouts really aren't easy for trucks to handle. They're very long vehicles, and they have a tendency to take up a lot of the roundabout as they make their way through, which obviously ties them up pretty easily, especially in heavy traffic. And roundabouts in general really don't handle heavy traffic well. So it's good in industrial areas to rely more heavily on your lane management and timed traffic lights if you're using mods. Now, another reason why our truck traffic is so heavy is this is not normal truck traffic that we're seeing in Las Vegas. Our city builder has the industrial space planning policy turned on. Now, this doubles our industrial production, but the downside of it is that actually also doubles our truck traffic as well. I thought of turning this off early on, and I forgot to mention that, but things seem to be moving really well in spite of having that extra traffic, because we do have a really well-designed, very highly interconnected grid that has lots of alternate routes. So Las Vegas, it looks like it's going to top out probably around 57, 58,000 cims at this point. If we look at our city statistics, our birth rate and death rate are trending down. So we're not seeing a whole lot. We're not going to see a whole lot of seniors being replaced by families here. Our influx is down as a result of our death rate going down. Our birth rate is starting to slow down some. It's probably going to level off somewhere down here pretty soon. And maybe death rate will go back up. It's really hard to say for sure. But the bottom line is our population is about where it was when we demolished most of the industry and rebuilt it. So it's a good possibility, good likelihood we'll see about 58,000, maybe 60, if we let this thing run a little while. I don't know if we'll ever get back to 73,000, and I suspect that is probably because of changes that were made in the game with the update that came out with Sunset Harbor. So I'm not sure we'll ever see 73,000 again. I'm not sure if there was a mod that was used that I did not install when I started part 1, but either way, we're looking at about 57, 58,000, maybe 60, as high as 60 for our population. If we look at our demographics here, our senior population is edging up a little bit again. It's almost at a third. That's a demographic that we don't want to get too big because seniors aren't going to be working and expanding our economy as much. What we want to see is higher numbers of young adults as well as teens and children. That number is a lot better than it was a while back in our video, but it's still not quite high enough to get us back up to 70,000 or more. So we might get lucky and see 60, but I don't think we're going to get any higher than that just based on trends. We also have our economy nicely balanced out because we're importing about half finished oil products and half raw ore products that we're using here in our Mineral Hills neighborhood. Then our exports are actually really nice. We've got about 2/3 of that are goods. That's what we want. We want to see that be almost all goods. We don't want to be exporting a lot of products from forestry, forestry, mining, or farming, because we just don't make as much off of those as we do as the economy processes things into goods. So we want to take advantage of that and make sure we maximize our good production. I would say that this is pretty good right here. We could get to be really perfectionistic about this, but I say that this is good enough because we've got a net exporting city, which means we've got a lot of extra industrial jobs, and we can grow our city, and we will not have to worry about running out of goods to supply our commercial districts. Lastly, I want to take a look at traffic flow. We're hovering around 80% right now, and we can see over here in our downtown that we don't have any of those pesky not enough goods to sell icons, and we do have some traffic problems. We're going to deal with those in part 3. We're also going to deal with rebuilding the metro system so that it will be much more efficient and everything won't get bottlenecked over here at Underhill Square. We'll also work out some of the issues that we're seeing with these roundabouts. Some of these are really backed up a bit. We've got a lot of cars waiting to get places, and this neighborhood over here has a lot more traffic than this one road getting in and out can handle. So we're going to come back and deal with that in part 3. And, we're just going to leave this as it is. We could try to make this perfect, but it's a big city. It's going to have traffic. And so I'm not really worried about this too much. Everything, as you can see here, is moving very efficiently. We only have a little bit of red here. I could probably widen that up to a 4-lane road through this section right here, and we would see an improvement in how well that moves. We don't have any serious backups compromising the effectiveness of our highway interchanges or anything like that. And we have several different ways for trucks to get in and out of downtown as well as workers. So we've got this here. We've got 5 different places for trucks and workers to get in and out of downtown from our industrial area. And then we've also got 1, 2, 3 different places where trucks from in and out of town are able to access our industrial area, which spreads things out quite nicely. As well, we have set up the we don't have a very big specialized industry areas. We don't need them. We're not even consuming all of what we have here, so we could actually expand and add more generic industry and produce more goods without even having to import more or agricultural or forestry products. That's a wonderful place to be. We've also got the strategically placed cargo terminals and ports so that everything is able to get in and out really efficiently without having too much traffic all trying to go into the same places and all getting bottlenecked, hung up on that. So once again, as I like to say, alternate direct routes diffuse traffic. And we've got a lot of alternate direct routes, and that's really helping to keep our traffic flow going really, really well. So that's all for part 2 of Let's Fix Traffic, Las Vegas. Do you have any questions? Please leave them in the comment section. And if you learned something or you think you might learn something in the next video, please subscribe. You don't want to miss our next episode. We'll fix public transportation and improve downtown traffic flow even more in part 3.